Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. I am super excited. We have with us today Tyrone Brown. He is the creator of the course, The Activated Dreamer, and he's here today to talk to us about your dreams, what those might mean, and also we might be diving into some even deeper topics here today. You will not want to miss what he's going to talk to us about. So, welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. I am your host, Melissa Oatman from melissaoatman.com. So, let's jump right in. Thank you for being here today, Tyrone.
Thanks, Melissa. My pleasure.
So why don't you just start by talking to us about, who you are and how did you get into the area of kind of analyzing dreams?
Yeah, so I'll do my best to do a nutshell version of that. So, as a kid, like many of us that are probably listening, felt maybe a little different, or maybe you were just into certain things that maybe you were believed in telekinesis, believed that you could fly, like you really believed it. So I always believed in these things, these mystical things, and of mysteries as a kid, hear about ghosts and aliens. Those things always stood out to me as interesting. So when I got a little older, I started to read books on dreams as well as watching shows on ET encounters and mystical experiences. And so I opened up this door somehow and started having interactions with spirits, just spirits, people just like us, just not in a physical form. So I
Sure.
started having these experiences over the course of years. Eventually, there's lots of experiences there. It could be a whole talk on just those experiences. But um, what had happened was I started to basically just not desire those experiences anymore. It was interesting and fun, but it wasn't anything that was supportive and helpful. And sometimes it was a little scary. Never anything that there to harm me, but I decided to shut that door just with my intention. I just decided to close that chapter of connecting with spirits. So, anyways, there was one mystical experiences that I opened up and started having. Throughout my life, I had always noticed little psychic experiences that would happen. A lot of us have, most of us, pretty much all of us, have had these happen. I mean, the most common one is you think of someone and they call you in that second,
Mm-hmm.
or you dream of them, hadn't seen them in a while, you see them the next day. All these types of little things really stood out to me. And then one day, I was working at a corporate job in San Francisco, and it was just a job just selling my soul too, in a sense. Not really, but it just wasn't soul fulfilling. And one day, like, I just got so frustrated with that job and this type of work and doing things I didn't want to do so that someday I could retire and then enjoy life. It just kind of hit my tipping point. I was like, there's got to be something more.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment of just deep frustration and anger, that did something too, that opened up something within me. I get chills as I say it. And in that moment, I started seeing flashes of these experiences I had since childhood of, you think of someone, or you had this type of psychic experience where you felt this and then it happened. All these things just flooded into my mind. And like, there is something more. I'm tired of this world right here and trying to make something happen. I want to explore this. At that point, I started studying just different religions, what are the core meanings that these religions talk about in spiritual practices, and all the spiritual belief systems. Just what is the core? There's got to be something that unites them. And that really just set me off in that trajectory of then learning meditation, studying yoga, which then these meditations then again opened me up to even more experiences. And that whole time I'm interpreting my dreams. So I started having direct encounters in my dreams where I'm getting direct guidance. And that really just opened it up. And I started studying energy healing, like Reiki and shamanism, healing touch. And it, that wasn't really a thought out process of what I just shared, but that kind of captures a bit of a journey of what happened. And once you open a door and you realize there's something more to life beyond the surface that we see, you really can't turn that off. You can't unsee that. And so that just leads me to continue to move in the direction that I feel called by my soul, and to uplift others along the way as much as I can.
Wow, that's quite a journey. And I know that a lot of people listening have probably had similar experiences because we're all on this journey of figuring out who we truly are and why we're really here and what we're supposed to be doing. So, how did that lead you to the dream portion of how you decided that you needed to help others? Because I believe that what you're doing truly does help others. So, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it was when I was 14 is when I first discovered that dreams, like the study of dreams, was a thing. Dreams always stood out to me. And then one day I come across the dream book and realized, wow, there is something to this. I'm not just crazy. And that's when I started studying that. And through interpreting my own dreams, and then by paying attention to my dreams. So if you're not already doing that, you'll notice once you start paying attention to your dreams and journaling your dreams, you start to have more experiences than you were having before. You start to remember your dreams more, and you start to have these direct experiences like I was speaking of. It's almost like some part of you realizes, oh, you're paying attention to this now. Here you go. Here's more information. And so you can really tap into some profound wisdom and guidance in your dreams. And I see your dreams as basically essentially a cheat sheet for life in a way. But most of us not paying attention to them. But ancient cultures, thousands and thousands of years ago, documented in stone the importance of dreams. Like they wrote about dreams back then. And the Egyptians actually saw that dreams, actually the word for dreams in Egyptian is raswet, which means to be awake. So the Egyptians saw that when we're asleep, that's when our eyes are actually opened. We have access to see beyond the veil of this 3D world. So it was that dream book when I was 14 that really set me in that direction. And then it was only a few years ago that when I had an inner inquiry, it's like there's some gift I want to share with the world. I feel it, but I don't know what it is. And it wasn't in that moment that I had that inquiry. It was when the time was right for me, it just came clear, crystal clear, like with no questions. And so that's the thing. It's like we may not always know what we want to do, but by just having the inner inquiry and a softness and ease around it and not a tension of I must know right now, it just comes to you at the right moment. And really in unexpected ways too sometimes. So.
What would you tell someone who, like me, has crazy dreams
Yeah.
that have so many different elements to them that they may find it really hard for them to interpret what's going on in the dream?
Yeah, I could just share a couple little tips here.
Sure.
So this is something that anyone that's listening, you can actually apply this starting in the morning. So for one, start journaling your dreams if you're not already. And once you start journaling your dreams, that actually, again, helps you to remember more dreams as you start doing that. And so the main thing in the dream, I'll just share two little tips here to help with that. And that's everything in your dreams is a reflection of an aspect of yourself. So of course, there's lots of different types of dreams. So right now I'm referring to like the standard dream when we talk about dreams, subconscious dream. But you can, visit loved ones in your dreams, and those are all a little different. But your classic dream, everything in your dream is a reflection of an aspect of yourself. So if you dream of a friend or a family member, it's not usually about them. It can be, but usually they're reflecting an aspect of yourself. So a quick example would be, I had a dream years ago of it was a friend, a roommate at the time, and in that dream, he was drunk and driving drunk, and I was trying to chase him in my car to catch him. So in that dream, my friend was, when I think of this friend, this is how you do it. Everything's an aspect of yourself. So I think, okay, when I think of this friend, what qualities stand out? Right away, he's a full-time artist. I think of my creativity. Okay. So this friend is representing my creativity because that's the quality about them that stands out to me. In that dream, I was disconnected from my creativity at that time. So I was trying to catch my creativity, which I had disconnected from. That was just a really quick example. So there we go. Everything's an aspect of yourself. And also the second most important part is your thoughts and feelings you had in the dream. So in your dreams, or when students come to me, they say, here's my dream, can you help me interpret it? and it's missing the most important piece, and that's the feelings. So when you write your dreams down while it's still fresh, you want to write down what feelings you had throughout the dream. If you're not sure during the dream, what feelings are you feeling now when you think about the dream? Because the feeling is the healing. So it doesn't matter so much what imagery your dream is taking on. The purpose of the imagery your dream is taking on is to evoke a feeling within you. So the experiences and everything that's happening is just there to bring out feelings within, because those are feelings that are present within you, whether you're conscious of them or not, are predominant thought patterns and beliefs that are running in our background, are showing up in our dreams for us to see them, address them, and move beyond them.
That makes a lot of sense. And as you were saying that, that reminded me of, I had a crazy dream last night where all I remembered was that there was a person in my dream that I work with. I'm like, why would that person show up in my dreams? But it makes total sense because my daughter and I were talking the day before about how we were both bad at math, and like math that just eluded us our whole lives. Like we were really bad at it. And this person's a math teacher. So I'm like, oh, that makes total sense because it was us talking about why can't I understand these complicated mathematical problems and things like that. So as you said that, I'm like, wow, yeah, that totally was why that person was in my dreams. And I will have random people sometimes. That makes sense. And uh, feeling what you were feeling as you were going through it, that also makes sense because that's all really related.
And so when
Very
you
cool.
want to write things down. So as write down your dream, and then write down the things that stood out to you in your dream. So the person, the place, the thing, the event. Write down what each of those things represents to you, what aspects stand out to you, and then write down the feelings. So as you start to list these down, you're now on paper, you're going to be able to start to put together the puzzle. And you might get a message. You'll usually find your message that way. And this doesn't just apply to people. It doesn't matter. It could be an animal, an insect, uh, a location, and something that's happening. Again, it's just, what does that represent to you?
Very nice. I like that. And I do think it's important to journal the dreams that you have. And I've talked to people about that. Usually, I'll have people who come and they do a past life regression with me. And then I'll tell them, pay attention to your dreams because usually, after we've done a past life regression, people will then start getting more information about their past lives through their dreams. They'll have dreams about different things and they'll see different things. They'll say, well, after we had that session, I had a dream where I saw another life. I'm like, yeah, that happens.
I didn't know you did that. Yeah. So the past life work, uh, there's many types of dreams, which I talk of the dreams. And one of the ways to tell, is this a past life or what time period is this in, is when you wake up from that dream to try to find as many details as you can. Like when you picked up the glass, did you see what kind of sleeve your shirt you were wearing? Did you look in the mirror? Did you see what kind of, were there cars? What kind of cars? What were the people wearing? You just look for things that indicate what time period this is in and write that down.
So I love the tip about checking, looking around to see if you recognize things from the time period. And so if you can recognize that, oh, I was wearing this particular time period of clothing, then it probably is a past life.
Yeah, so just, again, right when you wake up, you want to write down as many details as you can. So maybe it's even the language that might determine, where was this past life? What was the language? What was the accent? What again? Yeah, what clothing? What vehicles? And what did the buildings look like? So any of those little details can be fun to explore and see, where's the location? What's the time period? And some people refer to them as parallel lives. So whatever you want to call them, past, parallel, it's fun to connect to that. And yeah, dreams is a place where that
Yeah,
can happen.
definitely. So I'm interested too now in hearing a little bit more about the contact that you've said that you've had, the ET experiences that you've had recently. I know we were just talking about how we've heard that a lot in the news recently, that there have been
Mhm.
people who have been experiencing this. So I'd love to hear your own personal experiences that you've had.
Sure, yeah, and just to clarify, so what ET, what Melissa's saying is extraterrestrial. And that's the language I usually use instead of alien, because aliens kind of just has a connotation with it. So yeah, so extraterrestrial. So it's connected to dreams for me. And what had happened was in 2011 is when I had my first dream encounter with someone who was not human. They were looked a bit like a human. They were a human gray hybrid. So it was a blend of the human DNA with the gray DNA, and friendly, loving, supportive being. And at that time, I had received guidance, clear guidance, direct guidance to go to Australia. First time I had received guidance to go to a physical location. And so I'm like, okay, that was very clear message, but I'm not going to jump on a plane tomorrow. I'm going to wait for more signs. That was a 2-week period of time with just ridiculous signs, some things that most people wouldn't believe. But as you start to experience synchronicities in your life, you realize that this stuff happens all the time to us when we just have our eyes open to see. And so I was doubting my timing, doubting going. And that's when this being showed up in my dream, in the dream space, and said, it's time to go now. Just very clear. From that point on, I started having more of these dreams where I'd meet with different beings that looked different. Some looked human-like, but different characteristics. Some didn't look human at all. And then I'd see different types of, we'll just call them spaceships, that were black, silver, and I'd see the same ones in different dreams. In our dream space, if you're familiar with the term astral, like the astral realm, we just call it basically just kind of a catch-all for like a non-physical world.
Right.
And so that's what's happening. Like when you see a loved one in your dream, a lot of times what students say to me and my own experiences too is that just felt so real. I saw this person, I saw my grandfather, my grandmother, my great whoever it was, and it just felt so real. The language I had with these ET beings was the same way. They all just felt so real and just very practical and just being taught information. So then that was it. It wasn't anything melting or anything, they weren't flying pink elephants. It was just having a conversation and learning something. And again, with them being reoccurring, seeing some of the same beings, some of the same ships, it really got my attention as there's something happening here. From that point on, after these experiences and receiving guidance in my dreams from these friendly ET beings, I eventually said inwardly, spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, spirit guides in all types of forms, said, I would really love to see you in my waking reality, so I can ground how real you are, how physical, tangible that you are in my human brain, in my human body, because it's easy to doubt, because most of our lives we've been taught that this stuff is just imagination. So long story short, I eventually had a craft, a spaceship, a glowing orb, silent, show up at my house when I lived in Hawaii at the time. And it showed up at my house on 3 different occasions at the same house. And then at a couple other locations on the same island. And then again when I was in Bali, and again where I am now in Thailand, and again in Virginia when I visited my family. And so now I've had these encounters numerous times where they've confirmed, where I've seen the same ships in my dreams and seen the same ones in my waking reality. To now really confirm, now I've moved from someone who was a believer into a knower. You can only be a knower for yourself. And it's just a matter of just being open to these experiences if you wish to experience them. And at the right time, these experiences will happen for you.
Now I'm curious, when you say that the ships showed up for you at your house, like, was this at nighttime or was this during the day? And what was this experience like for you? Like, I'm trying to, I guess, get a better understanding for people who maybe aren't as open to the idea, as what it was like for you. How did you experience that?
Sure, they were at nighttime, and I'll add this to this important piece. And so, if you do feel connected to certain stars, to the sky, to the night sky, connected to conversations and documentaries about ET beings, then there's likely a connection there you have. For me, I had this connection for a long time before I had these experiences, and I wanted to have these experiences, but I didn't for so long because I still had fear. Even though it was exciting for me, there was still some fear of the unknown
Sure.
about this. And a lot
Yeah.
of us have that. A lot of people I talk to, friends I talk to, have a curiosity with fear. It wasn't until for me that I released that fear after having the dreamtime experiences, which is a non-confronting way to get comfortable.
Sure.
So you even set an inward intention. Star family, I like to use that word, star family, the spirit guides. I would love to connect with you in my dream space and just welcome that in, knowing that you're only going to connect with your loving, supportive guides and nothing else. There's no need to fear that. And so these encounters for me happen at night. And so just a glowing orb. It's maybe about 100 feet above the house, so pretty close, very large. And every single time of about 8 to 10 encounters, 8 very direct ones, 2 more in the distance, there was always someone there with me, at least one other person. I was never experienced it alone. Not that you can't, you will, but for me, I always had someone there. And then one day, after a couple of years of these experiences, I received direct guidance. So, or spirit guides, you might learn, you might maybe wonder if you can connect with them. You might speak to them inwardly as a one-way conversation, but not sure if you're receiving some information back. And usually we are, but we're doubting.
Mm-hmm.
And how you can play with that is to just let yourself be free to imagine. Ask a question and let yourself just be okay if you are imagining it. Is the information helpful that's coming through? Whether you're imagining it or it's coming through, it's helpful, then great. You just tuned into yourself. You just empowered yourself with some information, some wisdom. And so for me, I had practice learning to differentiate between my own thoughts and incoming thoughts. Now, sometimes though, when a message really needs to come through clear, it comes through as a voice, loud and clear, like we're speaking right now. And so after a few years of these experiences, as I mentioned, I got told the reason why I was having these experiences. And what they said was, it's time to start sharing your stories. And that was the quote. That was it. That one line, there was nothing else. It's time to start sharing your stories. Reason being is right now, the time of recording this in end of May, we're upcoming to June 2021, where the US government has said, okay, we're going to disclose some information that we know about these visitors. Who knows how much they're actually going to tell us, but they do know a lot. And we're at a time, which is exciting, where we're a civilization on a planet that for the first time, even though a lot of us have believed for a long time, are being confirmed as a planet that yes, there exists other people off Earth and they are visiting us. That's a pretty wild and exciting time to be in. And so that's part of people like myself and others that are having experiences, or those of you that will have experiences, is to share these stories because it helps to just bring ease and comfort around this topic that a lot of us have fear around. And also, unfortunately, the way that it's being presented to the public in the news is coming from an angle of fear and worry and concern because we don't know, because it's the unknown.
Well, and I think that that's generally the way that the media likes to present anything, is with fear, because that's what sells. But this has been going on for a long time, because you look back, pardon me, and even into 1950s, you have that whole secretive what happened in Area 51 and what went on, and was there a ship and was there contact and all of that. So personally, myself, I don't believe we're alone. I think that you have to be pretty close-minded to think that there's not more life out there than just what we know. But I have not had the experiences that you have had. So that's very interesting, and interesting that you're getting the guidance, and the guidance is to share your story, which I think there's so many people out there that need to hear that too. because I think that when you share your story and you share what you know, like you're doing, it's helping other people. Number one, to realize they're not alone. Like there may be somebody out there in the audience today listening going, I had the same experience, but I've been too afraid to open up and share it. Or there may be people, also saying, yeah, my dreams give me information, but people think I'm, crazy because I trust so much in my dreams. But there's so many people out there who've experienced this stuff. You're not alone, and this is a very real thing. So tell us a little bit more. You said you got a guidance that you needed to go to Australia. Did you eventually follow that guidance? And what was the purpose for going to Australia? I was curious about that.
I did. I don't know why I'm feeling tears, and I don't know why, but this will be the first time I've shared this story publicly, and that's just because I've had fear around sharing this story publicly, and I've only shared it with friends. I've just mentioned that I got guidance to go, but I don't ever share the story. And so, in short, I was sent to, and this is going to sound pretty wild to many of us, and some of us, you may be familiar with this information. But around the earth is an energetic grid. This energetic grid is there to support consciousness, to support humanity waking up. Just like if you listen to binaural beats, or you listen to pleasant music, you listen to just things that uplift you feel better afterwards, you feel uplifted. Same with energy. You receive an energy healing, or whatever it is, it's something that's uplifting. So this energy grid around the planet, many hundreds of thousands of years ago, is, from my understanding, was put in place to support humanity in waking up. Not in a way that impedes on our free will, but in a way that is just, again, just giving us a frequency to help nurture ourselves, to be able to go within and find ourselves in a time on planet Earth where there's a lot of darkness that's pulling us away from ourselves and making us dependent on them. Long story short is I was sent to Australia, to specific locations in Australia, to do what's called energy work, or some people call it grid work. And that consisted of going to specific locations, which might have been, one was in the middle of a lake, one was in the middle of someone's property, one was a remote place in the forest. There was nothing there, no landmarks, no ancient sites, nothing. It was just a point where this energy grid needed some charging. And so there, I'd meditate in that location, forming a pillar of light, and just my intention of just charging this energy grid. Now, I haven't articulated this publicly before, so I'm sure in the future I'll speak this more articulate, but that's what was happening. If anyone has questions on that, more about that, feel free to find me and send questions. But
I mean, that makes sense because everything is energy, and everyone's affected by energy, and you know that because when you are around people sometimes who drain your energy. In the same way, the planet, look how much we've depleted the planet and everything. So that doesn't, like, it makes sense to me that Mother Earth would need energy healing too, and uplifting, and all of that. So that doesn't seem so far-fetched to me. I mean, I know it would feel that way when you're being given guidance that you need to go in the middle of someone's farm or in the middle of a lake to do that. But I definitely can see the need for that. So thank you for sharing that story, because I know that's not always easy to put yourself out there and be vulnerable, but you're definitely in a safe space. So we appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. And these experiences started happening to me, like direct experiences in dreams, and then outside of the dreams, just because I was open, just because I had an open mind and open heart. And not only that, I knew that something existed, and I called out to it. I was like, I am open, I'm ready. And so I started having these experiences. And for me, it was a gradual process. It may not be for everyone. Gradual meaning, like, most of these things started this little psychic phenomena, started in my dreams. And then by that point, I was sent to Australia. They're like, okay, you're ready. even though at that time I wasn't like, okay, let's go. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, that was really clear. But what had happened was I was just cleaning a yoga studio. I was just at a job doing a mundane task. I was the only one in the studio with some spray in my hands and a rag to wash the windows. Nothing fancy there. On my way to this window to wash this glass, I got stopped in my tracks gently, but it felt as if someone had touched me here, very gently. My eyes closed and my head went back. And in that moment of what you just saw, very split, a second maybe, I had an experience that felt outside of time. I saw and felt myself as my energy body, where every cell of this energy body just felt like, oh, heaven just opened in every cell of my being. There was no such thing as health because there is no ill. It was just perfect, pure energy. So experience myself as that, and I was in Australia in that moment of that experience. And so it took me 2 weeks of ridiculous synchronicities that led me to that. I'll share the one that sealed the deal for me. And that was 2 weeks after that experience. I got a message from someone on Facebook who I didn't know. And she said, I see you as my suggested friend all the time. She's like, I don't know why, but I felt the urge to click on you today. And I'm so glad I did because our mutual friends are like family to me. She said, do you have time in the next 3 days to meet up before I move back to Australia?
Oh, wow.
Contacted me. So we met up. This was in San Francisco. We met up. Cafe Gratitude, awesome vegan restaurant. And she said, and I saw that she was open. She was, had an open mind. So I told her what had been happening to me the last 2 weeks, the experience and all the events leading up to her contacting me with no intention of anything. It didn't cross my mind to ask her anything. But she offered, she said, well, my sister's moving out in 2 months. So anytime after that, if you need a place to land in Australia, you can come stay with me and my mom. So it went from having that experience, I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to go to Australia. It's kind of wild. So 2 weeks later, someone contacting me and offered me a place to stay. I ended up staying at her place to land until I got the next location. So again, have an open mind, have an open heart, and you're just going to start to see, just really the magic unfold.
And that's incredible that it's not like you were just given guidance and then like, okay, you're on your own, but things lined up for you so that you had a place to go once you got there. That's, to me, that's very, like I was getting chills as you were talking about that it all just lines up perfectly. Even though sometimes we're afraid and we don't trust that things are going to line up or that we're going to be taken care of. I think the more we start to realize that, at least I have in my own life, like you're never asked to do something or put out somewhere without being given the guidance that you need to be successful in it or to be taken care
Mhm.
of.
Yeah, definitely. And the more we trust in ourselves and trust what we're feeling, just the smoother the journey is. I like to see it as like we're in a canoe going down a stream. And the stream is going. And the stream is like your soul. It knows where you need to go. It's taking you there. And like rocks and trees are maybe in the stream in the path. And the water just flows so smoothly around it. And in your boat, the current's gonna take you around it. But we often want to put our oars or paddles in of control and try to control. Maybe we see something, we're like, oh no, but I want to go over there, and we try to control, and we might roll around in the boat. But even if we tumble in the boat, the stream is still taking the boat to where we want to go. Either way, so we can just make the ride more enjoyable just by each day learning to trust more and more in ourselves.
Absolutely. The more you resist, the harder you make your life. I've always seen that. And the trusting, I think, is hard for a lot of people, but that's really so super important. I love the symbolism that your story, I love that. It's true. Like you will get to where you're supposed to go, but are you going to make it harder for yourself by trying to control everything, or are you just going to relax and go with the flow and allow the universe to provide?
Yeah, exactly. And relaxing when we're not going with the flow. even relax around that.
Exactly. That is so true. I know personally, anytime, we can't always control what happens to us. Things will happen that we aren't necessarily like, oh, this is fantastic. But it's going to happen to you no matter what. So you can either choose to relax and see what happens, or try to fight it, control it, get angry and get upset. And all that does is take away your peace and peace of mind. Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. That was such a fun conversation. So, if people want to know more about their own dreams, they want to be able to interpret them, how can they work with you?
Yeah, so I created an online course called the Activated Dreamer. And so right now it's a self-study course. From time to time, I'll do a live group version, but right now it's a self-study course. It's always available. And so my website is soul-dreamers.com, and you can find it on there. So soul-dreamers.com.
And I'll put the
Or
link
my
to that website too in the show notes so that people can find it easily and they can just click right on it. If you're interested in learning more about dreams and how you can interpret your own dreams, which I think is really an interesting and very important topic. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your personal story too about contacting with, we'll call them ET experiences. Because I think you're right. I think alien has gotten a really bad name, and it sounds like something mean and evil, and that's not what it is and not what we're referring to. So thank you for sharing that, because I know there are probably a lot of people out there who've had similar experiences, and just it's not mainstream yet to talk about that, but I think that it's coming, and I think that's going to be more of the case. So thank you for sharing your story with us.
Definitely, yeah, we're right in it's just happening right now. So it's definitely coming. And do I have time just to share one quick note on that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And that's the reason it's, for one, coming up more publicly now. Sightings over the years have been increasing based on online reports. And people like myself that are opening up and receiving experiences. The reason this is happening is because we're waking up. So even though there's a lot of darkness on the planet, at the same time, remember there's a lot of light happening. A lot of people waking up, mindfulness, yoga, all those things have become mainstream now. That's all a sign of people waking up, of us all just becoming more sovereign and empowered within ourselves, thinking for ourselves. And part of that evolution of waking up is getting in touch with higher intelligence. It's just a reflection of ourselves. It's like, oh, here we are now, awakening, expanding. We're even reaching out to Mars and other planets. Like, we're expanding internally in consciousness, and physically we're outreaching to the cosmos. So naturally now that's coming into us. And eventually there'll be a time in most of our lifetimes that we're going to have beings from other places here and interacting with us. There'll be a time where there's kids born that will never have known a world when there wasn't contact with other civilizations outside of Earth. And so that's part of the exciting process that's happening.
I'm getting chills again. So awesome. So I always like to ask our guests, if you have one piece of advice, a little nugget of wisdom for our listeners, what would that be?
Yeah, so it's keep it light, have fun, and trust yourself more each day.
I love that. Very, very awesome pieces of advice, for sure. That is one way that you can get through life a little bit easier and keep your sanity, which for many of us right now, we're all still trying to figure out how to do that. Well, I want to thank you for this really fun conversation. You're welcome to come back anytime to share even more information with us anytime you'd like to. Thank you so much.
I look forward to it.
And I want to thank you guys also for being here with us today. As always, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. Please leave a positive review from wherever you're listening. And the greatest compliment you can ever pay me is to share this podcast with those you think might also enjoy it. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media. I go live Mondays at 6:30 Central on Facebook, where I do a free card reading. If you show up for the live, I'll pull a card especially for you. And if you want to work with me, you can go to my website, melissaoatman.com. There you'll see all the services I offer, and you can book directly from my website. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. I hope you have an amazing day from wherever you're listening. As always, I am sending you so much love and light, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.